Jeff Link of Keller Williams Professionals Asheville is proud to present the Asheville Real Estate Podcast. Welcome to the October edition of our podcast. I'm your host, Joe Leininger. Today's program talks about the good, the bad, and the ugly when it comes to contingency sales. We're seeing more contingency offers during this buyer's market, but which ones are good and which should you avoid? Stay tuned as we discuss this and our local market activity. It's all coming up next. We're here today with Jeff Link of Keller Williams Professionals Asheville. Thanks for joining us today, Jeff. Tell us what's going on right now in the Asheville real estate market.
Joe, the average selling price for Asheville in September 2007 was $288,482. The average selling price for September 2006 was $276,744.
Okay, thanks, Jeff. For a national perspective today, we're also joined by Terry Murphy, real estate author and CIO of U.S. Learning in Memphis, Tennessee. Terry's a regular contributor to both mortgage and real estate magazines, and she's here with us today to share what she's seeing from a national perspective. Terry, what are you noticing from the mortgage subprime impacts of the last 2 to 3 months?
Joe, although the media has barraged us with negative press, we've still got some great low rates out there and plenty of mortgage programs to choose from. Now, what has changed is that we all have to be much more diligent about meeting some of the new restrictions regarding credit and get accurate appraisals to get our financing. Now, regarding the market activity, the market is still moving, but we find it's highly dependent on local areas of supply and demand that are nearby.
Where do you see the market moving as we enter the last quarter of the year?
You know, Joe, we've seen a resurgence of federally backed loans like FHA and VA, and they're coming around because 100% options have gone away. Now, these types of loans help buyers with low down payments or no down payments to get financing, and they offer an important assumability factor, which is always attractive to buyers down the line. But in any event, the new restrictions make for more serious buyers and sellers. More qualified transactions will happen that'll be smooth and have good transitions, and eventually the additional inventory will be absorbed by the growing demand. And you'll see that we'll experience more stabilized markets in many areas. And when markets tighten up, buyers need to know they can buy a house, and sellers need the assurance that their property will actually close so they can go to their next transaction. I believe you'll see more contingency sales come around, and third-party executive relocation contingencies pop up on contracts. And this will help benefit the transfer of a buyer to help facilitate a successful closing all the way around.
These are interesting times for sure, Terry. We're seeing more conditions to purchase agreements, but as you mentioned, some can be very good and others may not be. What should buyers and sellers expect? Jeff, how do you advise your clients?
Joe, many contingencies are normal and can be found in any contract. It is common to see offers that are contingent upon financing or an appraisal or even the approval of disclosure statements. These are pretty standard. However, the contingency that sellers don't like is the one that requires the buyer to sell their own property first. In some cases, this works out well for the seller, but in others, this contingency puts the seller at a real disadvantage.
Well, how so?
Well, usually the seller suffers because not only do they have to wait for their buyer, but they have to wait for their buyer's buyer too. In the meantime, the seller's home is not getting as many showings since it already has a contingent offer on it. Just to illustrate, say an agent has out-of-town buyers coming to look at homes for a day. Agents will be less likely to show homes with contingent offers because their time is limited. In general, homes with a contingent status get less traffic, and this does not serve sellers well at all. As agents, we want to reduce or eliminate the complications of our clients. Contingent offers of this type add a lot of unnecessary wrinkles.
So what would you recommend for buyers who find their dream home but need to sell their current house first?
Depending on what your home is worth on today's market, some folks might be motivated to take a little less for their current home in order to sell quickly and move up to the new home. Others may prefer to wait and see if they can get full value for their home. In these situations, a bridge loan can be very helpful in purchasing that next home. Other times, a gift from family or other short-term financing can help move up buyers get that new home. Keep in mind that the key to a successful offer is to have your finances in order and make it easy for the seller to say yes. Buyers shouldn't be afraid of making a contingent offer, but you need to know which contingencies are acceptable and which aren't.
Right, Joe. Don't be afraid to make an offer contingent on a satisfactory appraisal, home inspection, or getting financing. But sellers should study the actual contingency conditions when considering an offer that requires the sale of another property. Buyers should always discuss their options with their agent and mortgage professional to make sure they're doing everything they can to get the home they want in the time frame they need for the transaction to work and for the best possible price.
I agree. Buyers should talk with us about ways to get the ball rolling and explore what options are available. In light of the good interest rates and strong inventory available, we can help create a successful home buying strategy, even if they have to sell their home first.
Well, thank you both for helping out with today's program. I really appreciate your time.
Looking forward to next month. Thanks.
You're welcome, Joe.
For more information on our show or for information on the Asheville real estate market, contact Jeff Link of Keller Williams Professionals, Asheville. You can reach Jeff at 828-279-6585. You can also find Jeff online at www.jefflink.org. Until next time, thank you for listening to the Asheville Real Estate Podcast.